Welcome back to Title Talk with Title Leap. I'm Alexandra Nieto, and I'm the Title Manager with James N. Brown, PA.
Thanks, Alex. And I'm James Brown. I am one of the attorneys at James N. Brown, PA, and every week on Title Talk, we like to give realtors practicing tips, answer their questions, all stuff to get them to the closing table quicker and easier. But this week we're going to talk about something a little more serious, Hurricane Dorian.
Jim, I've gotten a couple calls in the last few days about closings that are coming up for next week and the storm.
Right.
And the first thing that I'm looking at on the contract is force majeure.
Sure.
So if you can explain a little bit.
Force majeure is the provision in the contract that says after an act of God, the parties have up to 7 days post-event to get the closing back on its track. The closing
So that's
agent,
after the hurricane has passed. They have
so
7 days.
The actual environmental event is passed. There's 7 days. Everybody gets that period of time. Lenders, buyers, sellers, the title agent, power back, and things like that. Then they have to get to the closing table. They have up to 30 days after the event, and then after that 30-day period, either party can cancel the contract and get their deposit back and move on.
So Jim, now that we've talked about force majeure and the time frames after the storm has passed, what about the condition of the property? Can buyers re-inspect the property?
Yeah, buyers can re-inspect the property, Alex. We have the 2017 FAR bar here, and if you look at line 263, the contract specifically provides that buyers have the right to re-inspection, although in that provision, re-inspection is limited to walkthroughs to look for the personal property that may have been contracted in the deal. Line 245 also says that the seller has the duty to maintain the property in the condition it was in on the effective date. So on the walkthrough, buyer's gonna walk through looking for that condition to be maintained as it was on the effective date. They're looking for the presence of the real property they contracted for, but they can absolutely make sure that the property is in the same condition it was in on the day they signed the contract.
Okay, and I would assume every contract, every situation is different.
Sure.
So everything would be negotiable or worked out on an individual basis.
Sure. The parties see something that was damaged in a hurricane. They're doing their re-inspection. The sellers are absolutely under a duty to maintain the property. And if an addendum needs to be drafted for repairs, post-closing, something like that, as long as everybody's reasonable, sure, it could all be worked out.
Okay, Jim, so we have a situation where, hypothetically, where the hurricane has hit and had some damage. And we've seen in the past where realtors are really creative and work very well with their buyers and sellers to negotiate an understanding. And it usually works out great. But every once in a while you get that person who's stuck and doesn't want to negotiate. Are there some guidelines or some terms that will prevail in that situation?
So when there is damage to the property, the general rule is the risk of loss provision controls. So line 492 in the 2017 FAR bar says generally that sellers have to maintain the property in the condition it was on the effective date to the closing date, and if there's damage to the property, that the seller is under an affirmative duty to restore the damage. The caveat there is that there are limits on how far the seller has to go, and the rule gets pretty complicated, but it basically says that if the damage is at a certain level, then the seller has to make the repairs prior to closing, and if the level of damage, the value is high, then they have to escrow money, and then there are post-closing resolutions that have to occur. And the best way to handle that one is on a case-by-case basis. If agents have a question, they can call me and we can talk about it further. But the general rule is that sellers have to restore the property. So if they get stuck and sellers don't want to do something, they don't want to sign that addendum, they give the buyer a little bit of money to make post-closing repairs, then that provision kicks in.
Thanks for watching Title Talk with Title Leap. Keep all your great questions coming. And if you have a contract to close, remember Title Leap and James N. Brown, PA, where we're all about empowering agents to succeed.
Thanks, Alex. And don't forget, be prepared for Hurricane Dorian. This looks like it could be a serious one. We hope you don't have a loss, but in the event you do have a loss, give us a call. If the insurance company is giving you a hard time, you can call us at James and Brown PA. Stay safe.